Hello. The reason I'm making this video is because I've been having a really strong urge lately to just talk to the camera and express my feelings, my thoughts, my opinions, and sort of like just share my life experience with people online and whoever wants to listen. So I would say a lot of the things I'm going to talk about, I'm no expert in. I'm just talking about my life experience and what I've learned along the way, what I'm working on. And whoever finds something valuable in it, that's great. And if you don't, that's also fine. So yeah, the first thing I want to talk about is overcoming my fear of being seen. It took me, I think, 24 years of my life. I'm 24 now. It took so long to realize that I've had a very deep, inherent fear of being fully seen by people. And before I go on and rant about everything I'm going to rant about, I just want to give a heads up and say none of the things I'm about to talk about are scripted. I have no structure in place for this video, no script, because I think it's important that I don't censor myself and I don't curate what I'm about to say too much, because I think that's just a bit restrictive. So yeah, my fear of being seen. I'm a musician. I started singing at the age of 5. I'm 24 now, so it's been almost 20 years of my life of doing the same thing, obviously on and off, like most people. You take breaks from your passions, and especially when your passions are something to do with the creative field, even if that is your life purpose, and even if you do end up making money from it, it's really hard. Society will always pull you away from your passion if your passion is not something deemed valuable by society, not something that could be useful enough, right? And I realize I've always had this very strong fear that people are not going to like what I'm doing. Even if I liked it, even if I knew at the time it was coming from a place of truth and it felt truthful to me. The way I was singing, the way I was writing songs, I'm also a songwriter, the way I was presenting myself on stage, what I was wearing, or the way I was presenting myself online. Even if at the time it felt true to me, that wasn't enough most of the time to be okay with the fact that it might not be great for some people and they might not like it. And I was in the semi-finals of The Voice of Romania when I was 18. I'm Romanian, born and raised. I moved to London when I was 19 to study songwriting, and I still live here. So I was on The Voice when I was 18, and it was the coolest experience of my life. It was so much fun. I wasn't in it to win at all. I wasn't in it to become famous. I was in it just because I had the urge to. I just felt like I need to do this, and I really wanted to do it for no apparent reason at the time. And it was so much fun. I met so many amazing people, and I have very fond memories of it. But at the time, when I was 18, I was apparently quite sure of myself. I think what I was saying to people and the way I was coming across probably felt to others like I was sure of myself. And like I didn't let any negative comments get to me. I never cared about the comments that came from strangers. I don't know you. I have no clue who you are, what you're doing, if I would want to be you, if I agree with your values and what you stand for. So I don't really care. But it was, I guess, the reaction that me being on TV got out of my friends and my classmates, for example, and people who knew me in my school. I was still in school. I subconsciously started shutting myself down, and not in the moment, but after it's all over. I think I had this reputation when I was on the show of being the crazy one, or like the one who just do whatever the fuck she wants, or the one who dresses however she wants. And I was perfectly fine with it at the time. But I think after it was all over, people's comments started to get to me. The fact that some people are saying my singing was too much. I agree with it now in some way. I've changed my way of singing a lot since. My voice has changed so much and my style has changed a lot. But at the time I was great with it. I was so happy with my style and my way of singing. And again, bear in mind I was 18, still a child technically. So I was very much still growing into the person I am now. And I guess, yeah, after the show was done, I started making myself smaller. And once everyone in my hometown knew I was on the show, I come from a very, very small town. Everyone knows everyone. It is absolutely suffocating. So I was incredibly anxious to leave the house. I was incredibly anxious to go to school. I was incredibly anxious to interact with people because I didn't want to be perceived. It was a bit much for me at the time for everyone around me to have an opinion on who I am, how I present myself, the way I sing, the way I'm on stage, the way I dress, everything. So I became to make myself smaller on purpose. I remember leaving the house and trying really hard not to be seen by people, trying really hard not to have to interact with anyone. So I guess it was a bit much for my nervous system, and that thing of me realizing I was being perceived. My close friends, a lot of them started turning away from me, and they weren't very okay with the fact that I was getting a lot of attention and I could skip school and my teachers wouldn't say anything because they knew I was on a talent show. They weren't okay with the fact that they felt like I was getting special treatment. They just started distancing themselves from me and I felt like it was my fault. I felt like I was doing something wrong. I felt like I became different. And looking back, I really didn't. It was them being uncomfortable around me. Me being seen made them very uncomfortable. Them being friends with someone who is being perceived and seen a lot made them very uncomfortable. And in that moment in time, I didn't know what was happening. I did not have the emotional intelligence or awareness to know what the situation was. So I retracted into my shell slowly. And before I knew it, a year after, for example, I was a completely different person. I used to have my own style. When I was like 16, 17, 18, I didn't care that people didn't like my flared jeans. I didn't care that people didn't like the fact that I was wearing a lot of colours. I didn't care that people didn't like the fact that my hair was really short and I had a buzz cut underneath. I had an undercut. I didn't care that people said I don't look like a girl. I didn't care about people's comments asking, are you a girl or a boy? Because I have very short hair and I was quite androgynous presenting. I didn't care that people perceived me as too much, as too different, as too weird. I didn't care at all. But then after that experience, I just became a shadow of myself, and I started dressing in very plain colors. I stopped wearing makeup, too much makeup. I grew my hair, but not because it was a genuine wish to grow my hair, but because a lot of people around me were commenting for so long about, again, bear in mind, I still lived in Romania back then, very conservative country still to this day, majority of people. And I started caring that people thought I didn't look feminine enough. I started caring that people thought my sense of style and the way I dressed was too much. I started caring just about people's comments on what I was doing with my life, the way I looked, the way I presented myself, and my personality, the fact that I was very bubbly. And I always had this rebellious personality in school and this reputation of always, if I had a problem with something or with what someone was saying, if I thought something was unfair, I would speak up straight away. And that made people very uncomfortable. That made most people around me feel very, very uncomfortable. It is hard to see that someone will speak their mind about a problem that maybe also bothers you, but you don't have the guts to say it. So I get why people felt uncomfortable, but I also get now that that wasn't my problem to deal with. And that wasn't a reflection on me. That was a reflection of their own fear of speaking up for themselves, maybe dressing the way they want, maybe getting a different haircut that people won't like. But it took so long to figure that out, obviously. And then the pandemic came. We were all isolated. I started becoming less and less myself. And when I say I started growing my hair, I started dressing differently, I wasn't posting online anymore. I wasn't posting my singing online anymore. I wasn't posting my interests online anymore because I thought it would bother people. Because I thought, well, I am too much. I'm in people's faces way too much, way too often. I dress differently from everyone in my town. I have a very different haircut for a woman. I have a very weird singing voice that most people don't really understand or resonate with. I always call out injustice when I see it. I always call out people who make me feel uncomfortable or make a comment about me that I don't like. So I just had all these things happening, and I went, okay, my subconscious went, I'm too much and I'm too unlikable. I'm losing a lot of friends because, for one, they don't like the fact that I will speak up if I don't like something they do or say, or that someone else does or says. And two, they don't like the fact that I'm somewhat in the public eye, or people know me, and I have some sort of level of small success in my passion and what I want to do with my life. So my conclusion was, I need to make myself smaller to be loved. I need to make myself smaller to be accepted. I need to make myself smaller in order to belong and to be integrated within my community. It was a long but very steady and very short process of losing who I was. I have other examples. After I moved to the UK, having Eastern European roots, we're not seen very well here. A lot of people don't like us. And I just thought, because we have this reputation of, again, being very loud, doing too much, I thought I need to be quiet as I possibly can. I need to not draw attention to myself. I need to not make my presence felt when I walk into a room. I need to blend in with the background in order to be accepted in this new country and this new culture that I was a part of now. That being said, since then, things stayed the same for a long time. I would say between the time I was 19 and before I turned, 23, 22, 23, I think, I just stopped putting myself out there. I just stopped wearing what I liked to wear. I just stopped everything. I was kind of just going along with what I thought other people wanted. And that goes to say as well, one thing I've learned from that is you need to be very, very, very careful who you allow into your life. That is really hard when you're still in school. That is really hard when you still live with your parents. That is really hard when you haven't gotten to that point where you can break free from maybe the place where you were born that you don't feel like you resonate with. Maybe the family you were born in. Maybe the people you grew up surrounded by. It's hard. It can't be done straight away. I was in it for 18 and a half years of my life because I had no other choice before I could finish school and was of age to move out and live by myself and move to a different country, move to a different city, where I could have very well decided then and there, well, no one cares, no one knows me here. I am not perceived by anyone really. I can do whatever I want. But that was still lingering. And I was in a romantic relationship at the time with someone who loved making me smaller as well. And then the pattern sort of like continued until that relationship ended. And I think that was a breaking point where I was like, I am completely free now. I don't have any of those people in my life anymore. I'm free from the place where I was born. I'm free from the people from that place who made me feel very small. And I think I'm ready to go back to being myself. And that was when I started releasing music. That was when I started putting my music out there again. I released my first EP in 2024. So I started releasing music in 2024. I was on The Voice in 2019. So it would have been 5 years of taking a break from, not fully taking a break, because I was studying a songwriting degree. So I was still writing music. I was still working on music, but behind the scenes. I was too scared to show my face. I was too scared to share my progress with the world. I was too scared to go, I write music, and that inherently means putting yourself out there and not making yourself small, because even if the music you write is not about your life experience and yourself, your personality will always shine through. Your life experience will always come through. Even if you write a song about a tree, who you are will still come through. And I was too scared to go back on social media, for example, and go, oh, hi guys, here's a song I wrote this week, because I write like 2 or 3 songs a week, because this is what I do every single day of my life. I was too scared to expose myself. I was too scared to have a face. It took so long to get over that upbringing. And it goes way deeper than that. I'm in therapy. I've been in therapy for a year and a half now. It goes way deeper than that. Obviously, it always goes back to your childhood. But I won't get into that now. That's too much to process, and I've got a therapist for it. But then even when I started releasing music, I still wasn't fully going for it. I was still ashamed of my name and the roots and the ancestry that come with my name. I did not release my first EP under my real name. And that wasn't as intentional as you would think it was. At the time, I thought this is a creative decision. This is intentional, and this suits who I am as an artist and the way I write music and the things I talk about in my music. But it runs way deeper than that. It wasn't that, unfortunately. I wish it was. Deep down, subconsciously, I was ashamed of my Romanian roots that come with my name. I'm still in London. I've been in London since 2020, and I did not want to share my music, submit my music to BBC Introducing, and have a Romanian name attached to it. And I think that says a lot about this country. Or maybe about my upbringing and most immigrants' upbringing. And what I will say is an inferiority complex. But that's for another video. And I decided to release music under a different artist name. My artist name was Candy Rush. Still resonates with my personality and my way of writing. However, I did it for the wrong reasons, because I was still scared of being seen as who I really was. I was scared of being seen as an immigrant. I was scared that people were gonna know that I'm not from here, and that's gonna be the first thing they see. And it's really, really sad. And that is a generational problem, again, for a lot of immigrants. So I decided to have this almost like alter ego, persona-like presence online when I was doing my gigs, again, through the name I was releasing music under. And it went on like that for a long time. I started promoting my music, saying, I've released this. This is what I wrote. I produced this. This is who I am. This is the music I've been working on for the past 2 years. And that felt like a huge step forward to me. That felt like such a big milestone after years of making myself small. Releasing music under a different name that wasn't mine, I didn't see the subconscious problem of I don't want people to know where I come from and my heritage. But I'm finally putting myself out there. I'm finally releasing music. I'm finally telling people again, I've been here the whole time. The fact that you didn't see me for a long time doesn't mean I haven't been here for a long time. I have. And I've been working a lot behind the scenes. And now I'm finally ready to come back out and show my face to the world. So I thought I was showing my real face. Again, huge milestone, huge achievement for me. But it still wasn't the real me. I was still censoring myself a lot. I was still not brave enough to do something like this, for example, and just post about my story, who I am, and try not to overshare, try my best not to overshare, but sort of like just present who I really am, where I come from, and my experience to the world. And be fully open, not be ashamed of my name. And that went on pretty much since, until something shifted in me a week ago. And I realized I've had breakthroughs in the meantime. I have had periods where it was going great. I was presenting myself in a very authentic way to the world, but not to a point where I could be seen by a lot of people. I was presenting myself truthfully to the world when it was a small group of people. But again, I started singing at the age of 5. It's been nearly 20 years that I've known music is my passion, that I've known this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I have no choice, because if I did, I would have quit a long time ago and become an engineer, become a nurse, become something that will give me a stable job and not have me worry very, very often about what's going to happen with my career and with my path. I've decided a week ago that I am not afraid to show myself to the world anymore. I am not afraid to show myself and who I am on the bigger scale, in the sense that I have a very small following right now. But even those people, I'm not afraid to show who I am to them. Even if they're not my closest friends. What you see is what you get. And that's how I've deep down been always. But there were very many moments when that got repressed. So I've decided I'm going to unapologetically be myself and present all my interests and all my thoughts and who I am in all my complexity to the world. I will not suppress my other interests. I was a dancer for 7-8 years when I was really young. I did a bit of acting. A year ago I was doing quite a lot of acting. I still work in the film industry sometimes. So I have a lot of passions. It's not just music. I'm a creative person, and that creativity reinvents itself. It takes different forms and different shapes all the time. But regardless of how I express that urge to create, it will always come through, no matter how. Be it singing, writing a song, producing a song, editing a video, filming something, acting, dancing, whatever it might be, it always has to come through. Otherwise, I just go crazy and I'm not myself and I'm incredibly miserable. So I've decided to stop putting limitations on what I can share with the world. I have a lot of interesting conversations with my friends and my partner, and every single time I see my friends and we have a glass of wine and just long conversations because we're catching up and we haven't seen each other in ages, we say we need to start a podcast. And I realized another passion of mine is talking. I love talking to people. I love having conversations. I love exchanging ideas. And I love having conversations with people who are not afraid to be themselves and try. It's hard to always be yourself. It's hard to always allow yourself to be fully seen. But make a conscious effort to be truthful towards themselves and live life in the way that they like to live life. And I guess that's another way of expressing myself. I don't know if it's creative necessarily, but I sometimes think I have so many things going on in my head all the time. I constantly have an internal monologue about everything I see or hear throughout the day. But I feel like I need to get that out. And when I have my friends to hang out with, or when I have my partner with me, I can get that out to them. But I feel like all these ideas I have in my mind, they help my creative process enormously. They help me express who I am through my art, through my music, through what I like to do on a daily basis. I think speaking your mind used to be a very scary thing to me in the past. Again, as a teenager, as a young adult, it was a very scary thing to do because I was surrounding myself with people that did not share the same values as me. So speaking my mind and having a conversation like this with them always ended up in some sort of frustration, some sort of anger, some sort of confrontation, because I knew I was in the wrong place with the wrong people. I knew growth wasn't going to happen if I keep surrounding myself with those people, if I keep staying in that place. But I still did, because at the time I wasn't in therapy. I wasn't aware of why I was doing it. I wasn't aware that the biggest blessing is to just get up and leave. And if you don't like something, if you don't like someone, if you don't like a place, you are free to go. You have free will. You do. But it takes a long time to realize that. And I'm not shaming myself, and I'm not shaming anyone who took very long to realize it. It took very long for me. It's so simple. It's such a simple concept. You don't agree with these people's values, you get up and leave. You don't like this place, you feel suffocated in this place, you get up and leave. You don't like... It could be anything. You don't like a job, you get up and leave. But it's not as simple as that. It's not as instantaneous as that most of the time. It takes time to do it. But I've decided, I've been through a lot of that, a lot of conversations in therapy, a lot of conversations with family and friends, a lot of conversations with my partner, a lot of conversations with myself, and a lot of struggle, a lot of changes, but with that came a lot of growth. So I have decided to, if not every day, because sometimes it's hard, sometimes you're just having a bad day, sometimes you're just exhausted because you're working for 12 hours that day and you don't have the space and capacity to think about that, and that's okay. Sometimes you're just tired and you want to watch Netflix all day and do nothing, and that's okay as well. But I've decided to do this at least a couple of times a week, where I'll just do one thing a day that I feel and I know is helping me overcome my fear of being seen. And I think it is such a beautiful, cathartic thing to do for everyone. Even if you maybe didn't struggle as much as me with being afraid of being seen, maybe it would still be good to make a conscious effort to think, what did I do today that helps me feel like I'm not afraid to be seen, I'm not afraid to be myself, and I'm not afraid to be perceived by people. For me today, it was obviously recording this video. I've never done anything like this before, and I feel that it is a huge step forward in presenting myself to the world the way I am and connecting with people. I have a huge desire to connect and build community right now, especially in a time when so many horrible things are happening around us. We need to stay united, and we need to be there for each other. And building community is incredibly important, and making sure everything you do comes from a place of love, and trying to help as much as you can, even if it's just by smiling at someone or reassuring them that it is safe for them to be around you. But yeah, that is it for me. And if you've reached this point of the video, which I would be really surprised if you did, but if you have, I would love to hear what is one thing that you did lately, or you're about to do today, or you're about to do a couple of days from now, that you feel help you to overcome your fear of being seen.